went out to the Adivasi areas, Palghar, Thane, and in several states we went out. We could not find one Adivasi girl below the age of 16 who owned a smartphone. Yeah, you know what they do in Palghar, in Thane? They wait for the father or brother to come home on the weekend from the brick kiln or factory or wherever, and in that Saturday, Sunday, they've got to download all their PDFs. Now, to download so many PDFs at a time, you've got to pay for the expansion of your package. The minimum, of course, is 200 rupees for so many GB, but then they've got to use that. They've got to add another 200 rupees to the package to be able to download God knows how many PDFs. This is what the online education has done to poor children, especially to girls. If you go now also to Palghar Thane, if you find a number of boys sitting under a tree, it means that one of them has a smartphone. And of course, being boys, they're not necessarily passing it around for educational purposes. Right? That's how it is actually working. When you have this kind of inequalities, you know, even your educational system reflecting such deep inequalities is going to raise a generation who can be made accepting of these inequalities. As of this is how the world is. Look at today's newspapers, Times of India, Indian Express. They are fiercely attacking the farmers. The editorials are fiercely attacking the farmers because they are speaking on behalf of because the media are speaking on behalf of the corporate world. Right? You know, this word, I wish all you teachers would have a discussion with your students on the complete abuse of the word reform. What does reform mean? Is it you have to ask reform for whom? Farmers have been demanding reforms in agriculture for 100 years. Okay. But are you introducing reforms for the farmers, or are you introducing reforms for the corporate world? For whom? The why? These questions I think we ought to take to our students. By the way, I've been teaching for 36 years now in journalism and development studies, and I'm finding the complete acceptance because their television, their films, everything make the inequality seem to be something normal. It's normal. That's how the world is. What can we do about it? Is there any need to do anything about it? We have Mr. Swaminathan Anklaserya here in Swanomics arguing that inequality is not a bad thing. It pushes he in fact believes that the environment can only be saved through the full unrestricted operation of the market. Okay. Now a generation is growing up believing this. In the People's Archive of Rural India, which is the URL is www Rural India Online, one word, ruralindiaonline.org. Ruralindiaonline.org. We came into existence in a desperation to create material for teachers and students in a country where tens of millions of young people are growing up as foreigners in their own nation because they know so little of anything outside their city, anything outside the capital city. The average national daily newspaper in this country on its front page, 5-year average, gives 0.67% to news from rural India. Rural India's population is 69%. And the average space on the average national daily front page is 0.67%. That is a figure from CMS, Center for Media Studies, the longest running media studies organization in this country, based in Delhi, run by Mr. N. Bhaskara Rao for more than 30 years now. And so then you have The People's Archive of Rural India actually does this. We don't want our children to be foreigners in their own country. We want to connect them. We want to give teachers material from which you can teach your students. By the way, we are the only website wholly dedicated to rural India and all of rural India, not Hindi belt or Maharashtra or Bengal, but all of India. We are reporting presently from more than 35 regions of the country. And what's more, we have parity between English and Indian languages. We are publishing in 13 languages. 30, day before yesterday, I wrote a piece on the so-called repeal of the farm laws. You'll find it already in 13 languages. We work with hundreds of volunteers, 170 translation volunteers, including several university professors, lecturers, school teachers, poets, physicists, you name it. But it's also a very costly thing. The title is Farmers Win on Many Fronts. Media fails on all. But the point is this: we believe in parity. Any article that appears in one language must appear in all the languages where we have the capability. So if an article appears in English, be sure it will appear within 2 days in Bengali, Urdu, Odia, Hindi, Marathi, Malayalam, Telugu, Tamil, Gujarati. It will appear in all the Assamese, from the northeast. It will appear in all these languages. Now, the BBC kind of organization broadcasts in 40 languages, but the content is different for each of those channels. It's not the same. What's put out on the Urdu channel is not in Pari. Any piece that appears in one language will appear in all 13, all 12, 13. So I request you to make use of this. Oh, we found another very interesting fallout, which we had not expected. Many kids are telling us that they are learning to improve their English because the kids really want to improve their English. Because, Praveen, they can read the article in Marathi and they can read the same article in English. They can read the same article in Hindi and they say, sir, it's improving my English and Hindi. 92 schools and colleges have signed up for our, we have a special section in Pari called Pari Education. 92 schools and colleges. It is free. This is the most important thing. Nothing that Pari does is charged for. We hope for your individual or institutional donations to Pari. We don't carry advertising. We think there is enough rubbish being sold to young people on a million channels and websites. We don't want to add to that nonsense. We do not charge subscription fee because it will then rule out all those Indian language students from rural areas who cannot afford. And those are the people we are there for. I think that we lose our meaning. We lose our raison d'etre, the purpose of our existence, if we start charging subscription fee which exclude the children who need us most. But this is not just for children. Pari is for every single Indian. And the languages that is now coming in have more than 1 billion speakers in this country. However, we are now planning a section on endangered languages. India has the largest number of endangered languages in the world. UNESCO estimates 2,500 endangered languages, of which India owns 196. In the last 50 years, according to the People's Linguistic Survey of India, conducted by the wonderful Professor Ganesh Devi, Ganesh Devi's study shows us that 225 Indian languages have died in the last 50 years. We just do not find that acceptable. Okay, the last speaker of the Jeru language died a few years ago in Andamans. And with her, a world of knowledge. We understand the links between culture and language. We focus on the culture, language, society, knowledge. Like for instance, like for instance, in the endangered languages, our survey is asking people 30 words. What does it say and what does it mean in your language? Mother, father, land, justice, peace, forest, sky. It's so interesting. What does the word justice mean to a Koya tribal in Vizianagaram? How does he or she comprehend that term justice? We know so little of our own society. Yeah. So please look at the People's Archive of Rural India. If you'll send me, Praveen, those who wish, you send me their emails, we'll put
Yeah,
them
yeah.
on the newsletter. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
And I'll end there so that you can ask me any questions you want. But the simple concluding point is this: the levels of inequality that we have actually nurtured and cultivated in the last 30 years are going to prove, have already proved, devastating to the health and wealth of this nation, to its people, particularly its most marginalized and weakest. Hmm? And I think teachers have an incredible responsibility in tackling this. Yeah, you're 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 on the frontline battles for the minds and hearts of children. You are on the front line of that battle. Please fight that battle nobly and honorably, with respect. Thank you.